And now, live from all over the planet, we have the Dallas-based Personal Robotics Group, commingled with the New Zealand Personal Robotics Group, and who knows, however many other places. So welcome. It's just our fun evening of messing around and chatting what we've done all the time for the last week or so. So my name is Carl. I'm the current president of the DPRG. And what we'll do tonight is just go around the table and see what's been going on in the last week. And while we're there, unless I forget to ask, if you have a presentation you'd like to tag along after Ray's presentation for our coming Saturday meeting, please do speak up. But having said that, well, Ray, you were already chatting, so maybe would you like to follow through? Were there things beyond Laura that you were doing last week?
Oh, yeah. Got the transaxle attached to the mower.
Okay.
And did this, it's an old mower, you know, it was my father-in-law's. It actually caught fire on him because it had a gas leak.
Wow.
And and the muffler on it is shot, so it's very loud. The muffler sticks out the front. So he's mowing along, and one of the African-American kids in his neighborhood comes along and tries to tell him that he's on fire. You know, he's pointing at the front of the thing, you know, says, "You're on fire, you know, you get smoke coming out." So he doesn't hear, you know, because this mower is so loud, and he sees this kid come up and approach him. So what does he do? He pulls out his gun.
No.
No.
So
Hey.
anyway,
What can you ask?
so
Oh,
yeah, little 22
In these
go down in
times.
his pocket. Anyway,
No.
so he actually went over and got one of the other white neighbors and brought her over, and you know, tried to tell him that, you know, your lawnmower's on fire. And anyway, so he finally was convinced that it was on fire and that, you know, he should get off it, and goes to get a fire extinguisher. And of course, the fire extinguisher is ancient. Tries to use it, and nothing comes out of the fire extinguisher. So the lawnmower, pretty much the front of it, you know, just burns off, and there's melting plastic and, you know, all kinds of stuff. And anyway, so I had rebuilt it for him, you know, several years before he died. He used it all that time and stuff. So anyway, the gas leak is back now, so I'm a little leery of firing the thing up and, you know, burning up a new transaxle that I just bought for the thing. So I've got to fix that. But anyway, so I went a couple rounds with you know, trying to find a belt that fit for the thing. So I got a string and measured it, and, you know, because it's a different transmission in the thing. It has a different size pulley. You know, there's everything changes when you change, you know, whatever the rear end of one of those little tractors is. And so went to Lowe's, bought the first belt, put it on, tried to start the thing up to move it, and it's too loose. It was like I think an 84-inch belt, you know. So I figured, okay, well, all right, there seems to be a lot of play in here, you know, and you get the belts in inch increments. So I went back and got an 80-inch belt, thinking that 3 inches would be, you know, about right. That would take up the slack, and it would actually, you know, spin the pulley on the transaxle and move the thing. And so this morning tried to put on the 80-inch belt, and sure enough, it is too short. So now I know where the Goldilocks zone is. It's between 83 and 80. So I go back and I buy an 81-inch and an 82-inch just because I know that, you know, if I try one, it's not going to work and the other one's going to work. Yeah. But if I didn't buy both of them, you know, it would be the other one. So anyway, so tomorrow's supposed to be nice and cool, and I think I can get the thing to actually move itself with the new, you know, transaxle. And ordered a bunch of parts from MPJA and VG Microelectronics, and I'm going to try to make my own linear actuator. higher powered, because it's going to take, I think the other stuff's not going to get here till the beginning of July, because it's just going to take, that long to get here from China. So bought a bunch of motors with lead screws and lead screw nuts, and I'm going to just experiment and see what works and what doesn't work. So actually found, I don't know if anybody has these particular motors. Tanner sold them. They're actually seat motors from, I think they went in a Chrysler vehicle. And when I bought them, you couldn't get the brass nuts. It's an Acme thread. It's an odd thread. And MPGAA has them, and they will sell them to you if you have that motor and you don't have the nuts, which are kind of crucial if that's what you want to use it for. So I think they were like $5 each, but they're very nicely machined brass. There's just a little bit of play in it, not very much at all. Probably, I don't know. I don't have my micrometer out, but it seems like, maybe a thousandth of an inch play. It's so tight on it, but it still, it still moves pretty freely. So anyway, that's pretty much what I've been up to.
So Ray, I have a couple of really critical questions here. So you're telling us that this smoking lawnmower base that caught fire pretty badly once already is going to be, mower base. It's going to be a self-driving mower, a riding mower.
Yep. So
okay, so that's the first critical question. So it's a death trap, a flaming death trap.
Yeah, I'll be in here, steering it around maybe, or just observing it, and in the meantime the thing has caught fire,
or running,
or caught the lawn on fire.
And then the next really critical question: Will it have a turret and armaments in a nod to its heritage? Who carries a gun when they mow their yard?
Well, he lives in Mesquite.
Apparently, a lot of people.
Yeah. This is Texas,
Yeah, everyone
he lives in Mesquite.
But
does this mower have a gun rack in the back or something?
No gun rack, but
okay.
Yeah, he just, he had a bunch of stories, and his neighborhood got it's pretty much the development kind of, surrounded his house. He was on a dead end street. There were two houses on it, and then it became like I don't know how many, I haven't counted them, but 75, 100 house development all around it. Primarily African American. So he, somebody broke into his house one night and confronted him, and after that, he just started carrying around the pistol. So,
Uzi?
What's that?
Carries around his Uzi?
Oh no, it was just God, I can't even remember. I think it was like a 22 revolver.
Oh.
So,
makes a small.
Big gun.
No matter how you count it, that's just sad. And here we are today, and the stuff's still going on. It's just messed up.
Oh yeah. So anyway, so it's got some history to it. Yeah, it cost me $300 to it cost him $300 for me to get all the parts for it and rebuild it after it caught fire. A lot of plastic parts on mowers today, they just tend to.
Yeah, I have a robotics idea for you, Ray. Is that I was just a couple days ago looking, and there's a particular kind of LED that's actually a fire detection LED. It looks at the particular wave. It looks at the particular wavelength. I know it's a phototransistor.
Okay, yeah.
Particular wavelength of fire. So I would suggest having that sensor on this mower would be a good idea.
Mount a couple on there, yeah.
Like all over the place.
Yeah.
And check your fire extinguisher.
Yeah, before I fire it up. Yeah.
Put a halon system on
actually have an inbuilt fire extinguisher.
Oh yeah, self-extinguishing. I could,
that's actually that sounds good.
Yeah.
It detects fire and automatically puts it out.
Yeah.
So even the Terminator didn't have that.
No, I guess he didn't. But yeah, that's what you get with inherited things that are free. Some of them have issues, But
thinking about your motor blowing up in flames, I was taking my daughter back home, and we were on the freeway. We saw some smoke ahead, and as we went by, there was a truck in flames.
Oh God, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me actually.
Oh, have you? Wow.
Yeah, you can't get them in the States, but in Japan, India, here, Suzuki makes a tiny van. They're like a really, really short van, tiny little things. And I bought one because they're really handy. It's actually like, the Suzuki Samurai?
Yeah.
Yeah, I used to have one of those too. And this is actually lighter than that, but it's a van.
Yeah.
And of course, being a van, you sit on top of the engine, right? So you pop the seats up, the engine's underneath.
Right.
And I had just got to the mower shop. This is a mowing story, actually. I never thought about it.
Oh, okay.
I got a push mower, the cycle blade push mower.
Yeah.
I got an old antique push mower. It was beautiful. It was someone had restored it almost. It was in nice shape. I gone to the mower store, bought a push mower, put it in the back of my van. And this is a van that bright yellow, had lots of trouble. I'm driving into Wellington, and all of a sudden the van starts doing this thing. And I'm looking, and behind me I can see smoke, and I think, oh shit. So I stop on the side of the road, and I can smell smoke coming from under the seats. So I get out of the van, open the doors, and I think I'm not losing my push mower. So I open the back, put the mower out on the grass next to the highway, and then when I popped it open, there was flames.
Ooh.
And it was burning, and it was actually melting the carburetor. The flames were everywhere. And the only thing I had was this beautiful old wool jacket that beat the flames out, knocked the burning carburetor onto the ground. I was on my cell phone. About this time, the police and the fire department with a big truck showed up on the side of the highway. And so there's now 2 cop cars, a giant fire truck, and this yellow burning van. At this time, the van is almost out because I put the seats down. It's smoke everywhere. Fire truck puts the fire out. He says, "Is that your mower?" I said, "I'm not losing that mower."
There are priorities.
Yeah, I still have that push mower. It's really heavy.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Good work, that, huh?
Yeah. Well, also get the momentum. Once you get that thing up, it'll cut through anything.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. That's my fire story.
I think
so. Murray, let's just carry on then. So you got the mowing story, but and the new job. It looks like you can get a break from the new job, so it's good to see you here.
My first day is induction tomorrow, so yeah. So
all right.
Yep. So yeah, tomorrow, and then we're not in lockdown anymore. So I probably, I don't know if I'll be able to get in next week because I might be working. So don't know yet.
Okay.
We'll see if I can talk my boss into letting me have Wednesday lunch off or something like. I have no idea. Okay. So what have I been doing? Let's see. I've been communicating with one of the guys in tech support at Pololu about this idea of trying to take my Arduino Yun. This is the one that has the Linux board on top of the Arduino.
Yep.
And try to figure out how to plug this onto one of those little Zumo robots. Apparently, it's not trivial. It's pretty hard to do. So I'm not sure I'm going to try that. I'd like to get one of those little Zumos and try it out and try the Sumo robot thing, because it would be a good thing to get the club started here. But it's not going to happen with this, I don't think, yet. The other thing I've been doing is doing a lot of rewiring. So my robot started. Let's see now. Got it right here. The robot's bottom has all the power, motor controllers, everything, all the low-level gut stuff is on the bottom. And then I've got my 3-mil Delrin, and then everything above. And it was getting to the point where the connections between were actually causing the problems. There's so many connections and plugs and everything that was actually a whole level of complexity that was unnecessary. So I've completely rewired it so that the lower level is pretty much just connected with power to the top. There's only really the sensors for the encoders and the power is the only thing that needs to come up anymore. But that meant that my whole front bumper assembly was no longer easily connected without adding yet another wire. So I decided that with the project that I had done where I wanted to connect a Raspberry Pi to an Arduino and have the Arduino basically handle all my front sensors, I've got the software and I've tested it out with an Itsy Bitsy. So I had all that done. So the next stage was to do the hardware. And I did it over the weekend. So this is my, I'm very proud to say, this is my new one-piece bumper. I don't have the polycarbonate yet, but I've improved this, so it now has the spring loading, which David had suggested if I actually, that's a handmade spring loader. It's got the little micro switches around the edges, and I've got both sides, these are all analog, 150 centimeter sharp infrared. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sharp infrared sensors for basically all around. And then the slot on the bottom is where the LiDAR looks out of. And so this is now all one piece and connects with 2 connectors onto the Itsy Bitsy. So when I plug this onto the front of the bumper with 2 bolts, I plug that to the Itsy Bitsy, and the Itsy Bitsy communicates to the Raspberry Pi over I²C, and that simplifies pretty much everything for the front bumper. So this is actually like a composite front bumper. So there'll just be one I²C port connecting all these sensors to the Raspberry Pi. And so the Raspberry Pi will pull this and say, what do you see? So quite pleased with this. It's a huge amount of effort. I don't know how many hours, but I managed to get all the wiring done. And yeah, so that's.
You're going to enjoy doing maintenance on that now.
Whew. Well, I'm just to the point where I really wanted to clean up the front bumper because it was getting kind of messy and it was hard to deal with. And this is so nice now. I've tested it and it all works. And you just provide power to it and everything. And it's got an enable pin. This is the enable pin. So if I give that, I pull that low and all the infrareds turn on. So yeah, it works pretty well so far. So that is what I worked on in the last week, basically.
That's pretty good.
What's your luck been on I² in terms of multiple devices talking on it?
What's that, Dave?
Well, some people have had problems with their I² with more than one device on it.
Oh, really? My entire robot is using that. So I've got something like about a dozen I²C devices working on the same bus.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's all working?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, one of the secrets that I must say is that I'm using Pimoroni's breakout boards, which I'll pull one up and show you. But they have these little, sensors, the little breakout board sensors. But I think the trick is that they have these kind of connectors. This has only got 3, but they have one that has 3, 4, 5, 7. So you need to get 3 or 7 of these connectors, and these have a 5-volt, and there's a number of parts underneath, which I think might be buffers, and maybe you have to provide 5 volts to this. So I think these act as sort of an amplifier. So anything plugged into here doesn't impede the bus, maybe in terms of overloading it. So that might be the secret. If you put all 12 on the same set of wires, maybe it wouldn't work. But I'm plugging all of these. Well, not all of them, but many of them are being plugged across a bunch of these things. And I think that might be the secret, because I've tried over 12 devices and I don't have any trouble. It's a lot of devices, to admit.
Yeah.
It was kind of a design decision to have all my sensors be I²C.
Okay.
And it's cool that it's working.
Yeah, and I've got all the parts for the next robot, but I really need to get this one working first.
One at a time.
Yeah, I can't work on the Mecanum one until I have this at least functional. So.
That's a tough discipline, but sounds good.
Yep.
Hey, Murray, do you know about the Rami from Pololu?
Yeah, well, I haven't tried it, but I'm aware of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's got a connector for a Raspberry Pi. It's not the Yun, but
right.
And it's got a 32U4 on the base. So it's similar, I guess. If you already know about it, you probably already looked at it then. So, but I thought, if you wanted to do something similar to that for kids or a club or something.
Yeah, that's I mean it's a nice. You're talking about the round plastic platform.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they look quite nice because it's easy to bolt things to them. Right.
Yeah, there's one here.
I'm still struggling over what might be the introductory robot for the club. Yeah, and they come in blue and red and white. Well, yeah, Yeah, I don't know what to use for an introductory robot. I thought that maybe the Zumo might be a nice one because it does allow kids to, they learn programming and there's all the excitement of the challenge and all that.
Yeah.
It's hard to know. I mean, how do you tell?
Oh, yeah, you got one too.
How can you figure out what people want to do? I have no idea. So.
Yeah.
I had that. Oh, where is it? This was my prototype right now, which is using one of these. What are they called? The Adafruit Circuit Python, the little round boards.
Yeah, I forget what it's called.
Yeah, and then it fits on top of a Cricut board, and that provides you servos, motor controllers, and all that. So basically, these two boards together give you everything you need. And then I'm using just a regular USB battery, and then infrared sensors in the front. So this is a fully functional robot with the micro motors underneath, and it's very light, and it costs about, well, in New Zealand dollars, it's around $100, maybe 120. So that's kind of my possible entry-level robot for people who want to build something, and this allows them to either program with Circuit Python or with one of those graphical things.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And it's got all the LEDs in the front, so you can make bright colors, which obviously for kids, it's rainbow colors. You can make unicorns that fart and all that. So,
oh wow.
But yeah, it's hard to know what people will be most. I think Zumo is I'm heading towards figuring out what type of Zumo might be appealing. Because the Zumos look like fun.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I've never tried it before, but I've watched a number of the Zumo, things on YouTube, and it looks pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Kids have a good time with it for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that's it for me. Thanks.
All righty, Mr. Dave, how about you? You think you were online almost next or so?
Well, really, I haven't done much of anything since I'm in the caregiver business, but I did get my Father's Day present early. I don't know if school displays.
That's the camera?
Well, I've got a camera on top of the one display, and I've got two school displays.
Oh yeah,
nice.
Huh.
So that's all I've done.
That's all right. That's good. It's looking cool. All right. So let's see, how about Mr. Kareem? How about you?
I got nothing. I'm just listening in, trying to
We're going
reconnect.
downhill.
I was out for 4 days with something I'm gonna say flu-like.
Oh boy.
Unlikely COVID because it absolutely zero respiratory symptoms.
Yeah.
Otherwise, everything else matched up beautifully. So have no idea and have not been tested. But that slowed me down for about a week, and but I'm completely fine again, and just behind on my robotic stuff. Spending a lot of time with my head down deep in the uncomfortable internals of GPS systems and things like that, and continuing to learn more than I want to know.
I thought you were going to say a big white bowl or something.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to. The internals of.
Talking to Ralph on the big white phone.
Yeah.
I think that's why jobs are called work so many times, right?
Yeah.
All righty. All right. Well, I think we're going to have another familiar theme this week like that. So let's see, Mr. Clay, how about you?
Not too much hobby robotics, but I do have a day job now that's sort of robotic related.
Great.
See if I can show this here.
Scratching an itch?
Yeah, so I'm working with this little development board. It's got a NXP processor. Learning lots about embedded Linux, and it's an interesting processor because it has a A53 quad core and it has an M4 quad core. So I've had to learn how to put one core to sleep and try to have the other core wake it up and so on. Made progress there, but now I'm having to figure out how to build the U-boot, the bootloader, It does what I need, but I need to rebuild it to automate something. And then my next task is Yocto to build the Linux we're using. We got the, kind of the stock one from the vendor, but it doesn't have the NTP time protocol, which we'll need. And then I'm also working on not this project, but the next one where they have a project where we have to get a lot of cameras onto one processor, 8 or as many as 16. So lots of calls with vendors and things about, can we
Xavier, it just hit the floor. Claims to be able to do that. Dagdag's got one.
Who has one?
Ron Dagdag.
Okay. Yeah, well, Ron works with me. I work in the same company.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah. So we're looking into that and having a lot of fun there. But no real hobby stuff lately. But still having fun.
Clayton, are you using OpenWRT then for your Linux?
No, I mean it's basically a custom build, and it's really, 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 really stripped down. In fact, the first build, I go, GCC, that wasn't even there. And it's like, what? How can you have Linux without a compiler? But so I'm learning a lot more about cross compilers. So,
but it's not an open Linux then? It's a bespoke Linux?
I'm not actually 100% sure. I mean, it's a Yocto custom build for this particular board. So it's not based on any of the standard Linux. It's the kernel and not a whole lot more.
Okay, cool. That sounds interesting.
Yocto is kind of standard, but I thought it was more of IBM's idea of what Linux building was supposed to be. But that shows you what I know or don't know about it.
Yeah, well, Yocto is basically a system that allows you to custom build. It's kind of a mix and match, plug and play. So you can build embedded versions, but they have what's called a board support package for a lot of the custom boards out there that you can, use as a starter.
Can you talk about the applications that system's intended for?
I mean, not a whole lot. It's proprietary, but what I can say is it barely qualifies as a robot, and it barely qualifies as mobile. And it's really a pretty simple application. There's a lot of challenges, basically taking it from they have a working prototype that uses, off the shelf like a Raspberry Pi, and so. But we've got to make it into a real product. So, you can't make 5 or 10. We're going to have to make these in thousands. So if we're going to get there, it's got to be a custom board, and, all the software has got to be custom. And then we got to have, really tight security so it can't be hacked into, all this stuff that different from a hobbyist. This is a job. So it's,
Back on that one.
Is
16 cameras, what processor, what kind of resolution?
So that one we need a minimum of 5 megapixels, and that's a different project. This one we've got an 18 megapixel camera.
Wow.
Holy moly. That's a lot of bits to be slugging around.
Yes.
That's a lot of bits. Oh
yep.
Huh.
Is that processor, is that from ST? I don't know if it was labeled as one of their microcontrollers.
This is NXP is the manufacturer. They make the chip, and then another vendor makes the little development board, but it's a NXP IMX8M Mini. They make a bunch of IMX8, and then this variant is called the Mini.
But those are open hardware, right? Open source hardware, and there's just a lot of manufacturers that do them. Isn't that what I heard about those?
Yes. Well, I'm not sure if it qualifies as open source. It's ARM, and they license it. So lots of people, you pay ARM the money, and you can use their design. So yeah, lots of people make the ARM. In fact, almost every cell phone, Android anyway, is an ARM of one sort. Even the Raspberry Pi is an ARM.
I'm just thinking back to the NXP, because there's the one guy in town here who does, I think his company's called Lightwing, and he does displays.
Yes, his name's
like commercial-
Clay.
Yeah. And his name is Clay, right? Clay Montgomery.
Yes, I've talked to him. Yes.
Yeah, because he's
Yeah.
big on that processor series, and one of the things he mentioned about it that has it as its pro was that there are a lot of manufacturers who do the same architecture wrapped around it. So it's not like one of these one-offs that's at risk of going by the wayside, because there's it's a good, healthy ecosystem with a lot of contributors.
Yes, I would say so. There's a ton of stuff on the web.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. You have to give us an update when you get more into it to see if it isn't suitable for one of our, club style robot things at some point.
Yeah. If we get this working, I'll have to check, with the company. But I would love to share all this cool stuff when we get it working.
You get it working. Get it there.
Are we going to see it at a Walmart soon? Is that kind of the
Possibly, yeah. They're they've got a lot of customers, but yeah, you try to get the big Fortune 100 customers if you want to make some money, have a product with widespread market.
Yeah, I was referring to the robots that go around and do inventory. I don't know if you've ever seen those at Walmart or not. I don't know how many cameras that thing has, but it has a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, wow.
No, I haven't seen one, but I've heard of one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
For transparency, Ron was just was just kind of showing off that he's been playing with it. He didn't tell me what we were doing with it. He didn't tell us how he was doing with it. He was just having a good old time with it and pretty much bragging he had some crap we didn't have. So.
Yeah, he's working with computer vision on NVIDIA Jetson.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff.
There's a lot of cool in this room here, so this is neat.
A lot of cool.
Harold, I know there was a lot of dust in Dallas today, but you look like you're in the middle of it.
Who?
Harold.
Yeah, Harold's in the gray matter with. I think his OBS needs to be turned on, but.
Oh, I am. Hold on here.
Yeah.
How to reboot the camera.
He's pure brain. That's the gray matter. That's all that's going on there.
It's down to a 1-pixel camera.
Oh, I know what it is. I know what it is. It's because, hey, dummy, you need to actually start the thing.
Oh, there you go. And there's the man in the lab.
Yeah, the man in the lab.
So speaking of the man in the lab, are you up to chit chat, Mr. Harold? What you got going on this week?
Well, a couple things. One, I found some stuff. I just pulled it up because I wanted to show it off. Yeah. He'll pull up that thing and do a little transition. And I'll drop this link in the chat.
Nice.
See this right here? It's a Doodlebot. You guys probably recognize them. And every year for the last 3 years, I go down to an elementary school and I show them some blinky lights or talk about 3D printing or maybe drive a little robot around, a car around or doing something, trying to helpfully inspire some evil geniuses to be created. They're all 2nd to the 5th graders. Last February, I engaged the wife and a few other folks gave me some dollars, and I got a bunch of Play-Doh, LEDs, 9-volt batteries, and snaps, and we made a bunch of squishy circuits. I turned them, all these, about 80 of these 2nd to 5th graders into electronic engineers for a little while. So I don't know if you know, but normal Play-Doh got a little resistance to it. So I used that as a current limiting resistor, and I got them some snaps for my 9-volt batteries, and we plugged it together and we blinked lights, and they made various shapes in Play-Doh and turned them on, and they were real happy about that. So I'm thinking, what can I do? And then Carl's over there sending me a bunch of AliExpress stuff. Look at this, look at that, look at the mechanical wheels I got that you don't. Okay, whatever, and so I was looking around and this popped up. I'm like, what do they have for Doodlebots? Because I was trying to source all the parts, and I had sourced them all. I had this idea,
and I said, we could do this, and in about 30 minutes is what I have. And the price actually went up, so I'm not happy. This was $1.87 a week last week sometime. And so I can get 100 of these things from China for $2.67 and plug in some batteries. And now I've hopefully inspired another round of 80 or 90 kids to become a robot builders or something along those ways. Because you guys, I know you guys have seen these before. It does things like that, right? And then dance around and kind of off center. And I was going to have I had the parts all sourced. I figured I was just going to suck up the using solo cups, rubber bands, and little motors that were going to double-sided tape sticky on things, solder a bunch of AA holders together, and then I was going to make them. But this comes in a bag. It's already ready to go. I just got to get a bunch of batteries. So that's my next plan, and it's going to take me about 2 months to get them. So that's kind of what I was planning to hopefully get some kids involved with that kind of stuff. And for $2.67 on a per piece like that, I can't source them anywhere cheaper or any of that stuff.
I mean, you can't buy a pen for that much.
No, I can't. I can actually buy hundreds of pens for about $20, but then I got to get batteries, and and the solo cups are still more than that. You know, between pens and solo cups, I'm already running out. The batteries are a little expensive when it comes to this, but I can get a couple of hundred of them for not too much. And away we go. And I think that's a lot of fun. My weird thing is that, see, it ships from China, and it's going to cost 86 cents a piece to ship them. And I'm like, okay, that's no good. What if I ship them from the U.S.? I'm like, oh, we can't do it. We can't ship to the U.S. and deliver in the U.S. all at the same time. I don't know what that means. So I thought that was kind of funny. The other thing that happened this week, and I know you guys are following it, whether you wanted to or not, at least a little bit of a flight. I'm trying to get ROS 2 working on Windows. And I've been fighting through a bunch of stuff. And most of it, what it comes down into, CMake, you have to register libraries and things with CMake, so CMake knows how to go pick them up and do things with them. Well, for some reason, depending on the order and depending on the mood of Windows, sometimes those registry entries do not go into CMake where they're supposed to be, and so you've got to play like you're uninstalling the NuGet package and then reinstall it again on top of itself, and then the stuff goes in and it works. And I did that 2 or 3 times, and now if you'll see right there, I've got a whole 33 packages that I have yet to process, and those are the 33 standing in my way. And so I'm gotten pretty good on that. So, and what's happening now is this bullet. I don't even know what bullet is, but apparently we need it to do something. It's a NuGet package. We're doing something. And right now, bullet, even though I've installed it before, refuses to install again. And so now I'm mad at it. But the other thing I tried to do was maybe they just hate Windows. And I'm still on the other thing, aren't I? Maybe I just hate Windows. And so they haven't, and they haven't put as much work into it because there's not as much work putting on it. So I thought, well, maybe I'll crack open my donkey car here with my Raspberry Pi on it. You see that? Donkey car.
Yeah.
And follow the Linux instructions because it's already sitting there and it's doing nothing anyway. So I might as well burn some electricity. And I put it on there, and it doesn't compile either. But I think its real problem is I suspect that it doesn't compile because I've only got a gig of RAM. This is a Pi 3. There's only a gig of RAM on it, and I suspect that I run out of memory. But just because I've got top running on here and watch the thing, when the load on this was at one time 15, it should be no more than 4 at any particular time because I got 4, right? And it should be. And so I'm looking at it, it's 15. And my SSH shuts down to it, and my keyboard becomes unresponsive, and all these other sorts of things. So I suspect it's running out of memory somewhere. That's why it's dying. So I'll get back to that too. But I'm really close on getting ROS working. And once I have that, much doing like Murray's doing, I can't work on the fun stuff and do the twiddling of the screwdrivers and other things until I get this part working so that then I can go forward. Trying to,
Yeah.
hold to the.
Yeah, you need
You're making progress, though. That's looking good.
And this is helping. This helps.
It is a silver bullet, isn't it? All right.
It's
Is that
certainly.
yours or Coke?
Well, actually, I got a joke about that. I'll clean it up a little bit.
Yeah, we are on YouTube, actually.
I know. I'll pick up a little bit. What's the similarity between a Coors Light and making love in a canoe? And that is
Something to do with a lot of water.
what now?
Something to do with a lot of water.
They're both friggin' near water.
Yeah.
Staff in there to make it.
I see.
And I apologize. I correct my voice and video sync going through OBS directly into streaming, but I can't do it through Google because the voice is coming from one camera and my video is coming from another. And I tried. I know it's annoying. Just don't look at me too hard.
It's okay. It's got that 50s sci-fi Godzilla flicks.
I just thought you had a weird impediment. I don't know.
I'm going to go Kung Fu Master Chinese, Kung Fu star.
Yeah.
My father. Your Kung
Very
Fu.
nice.
Anyway, that's me.
Cool. Nice. Hey, so Mr. John, how about you? Those we had the arms last week. Are you still marching ahead?
Well, basically, I was in the hopefully going program, and I discovered my, the DRIA doesn't want to program, so I'm trying to reinstall that. But in the meantime, this is what I do have on it. So yes, the arms are there.
Oh, look at that.
And it can scratch its bum.
Well, I can scratch its head like that. So the next step what I was going to do was, plug in and write code for it. But this computer, for whatever reason, when I start it up, it basically flashes, it says installing libraries, and then goes away. So I'm reinstalling. I don't know what version I have, but it's not happy on this computer. So I may wind up going on the other computer. And if I eventually, once I get the program, then the next step what I was going to do was put this on top, something like that.
So it could tap its head and move
So
itself
it can
around.
tap its head, pick a choice, depending upon, yes.
Self-programming.
You do basic arithmetic, right?
Yeah.
The ultimate in recursion.
Well, no, unless, the keypad doesn't have a plus minus equal, it just has pound. So it might have a problem with that, but anyway, so that's where I was at it. I was hoping to actually have it move for you all, but the program aspect didn't work for whatever reason. So I mean,
I don't even know.
Progress anyhow.
Arduino is 1.8 something.
I can tell you right somewhere where I have one of my Windows here. I can tell you that one I'm working on trying to download. What is the version I'm working on? I want to say 1.8. That sounds right, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I have the latest version on mine either. But it's
Well,
right.
I wasn't planning on trying to get the news version until tonight. For whatever reason, it went south. So that's what I've been up to.
All right.
One subtraction real fast. Regard to Saturday, have we discussed that? Or are you going to discuss that later? Or what?
I was going to pick it up towards the end of the meeting here.
Okay.
Yep. We discussed it briefly at the start, so they'll be at the start and the end. But in the middle here, I'm going to go show a few things. And then I'm going old school, and I'm just going to use the Meet Present instead of OBS. So you should see my screen pretty soon now.
Yep.
And I'm doing that as a decent resolution. So I have bad news, good news, bad news, good news, something like that in my week. So it was not the most productive week between some things that were going on and work. But okay, so that's one of the bad news. This was also still in the bad news category, but I got 2 of these shims, and these you plug onto any old Raspberry Pi or solder down, and then you power them through the USB port on this guy. And in theory, it lets you do a clean startup and shutdown on a Raspberry Pi. Well, at least the one that I put a header on just like that, so I could try it out without soldering it down to the Pi. And right now, it won't. The button does not turn on either of the Pis I've tried it on. The button will stop let's see, the Raspberry OS recognizes the shutdown and goes into its power down sequence, but it doesn't properly remove power. And then once it's off, the button won't restart it like it's supposed to.
Oh.
And then on top of that, I noticed that it wants to start removing your fingerprint. It's getting a little bit warm. So I spent too long time, an hour or 2, and then I finally gave up, and I queued an email over to Pimoroni support, and now 3 days in or so, and there's no response. So hopefully they'll get back with me on that. But
well, I'm glad you've done the review, because I just put an order to Pimoroni. I was on their mailing. You know, you can sign up to see if something comes back in stock, and they finally got one of those 8 gigabyte Pi 4s.
Yeah.
So I decided to splurge and bought one of those, and then the integrated aluminum case all in one.
All right.
And I almost bought one of these because I was thinking that was kind of cool. So it's I'm gonna wait for your review before I consider it.
Yeah, I mean, there's enough people that have really positive things to say, so I'm sure that they can work. It seems like some of them might just have defective hardware. So at some point, I'll take my second one and add a header if I don't hear back from them, and I'll try it out, but and see if it at least passes the doesn't melt your finger test.
Yeah.
But and it's not quite that warm. It's tolerable, but it's too warm, I think. It should be a low impedance switch. It should be cold to the touch, I think.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds bad. I mean, heat always means you're sucking up your batteries too if you're using it on a robot.
Yeah, yeah. And I was running it on power supplies just for test, but so we'll see. The jury's a little bit out. So whether I try the second one with a shotgun approach, whether I get the voltmeter and the oscilloscope, I don't know yet, but stay tuned. That story is a work in progress.
Yep.
Now the next.
Your power supply should have told you how many amps it was drawing.
Yeah, I think it should have, except I wasn't using that one. I was using this one, which yeah, it's just a wall brick.
If I remember right, this shim allows up to 2 amps, I think, isn't it?
Or 2.5. I think it'll power a 3B plus. I don't know if it'll do a 4, but
yeah, that's right. 2.5. You're right. That's right. Yeah.
But 2 amps should be more than enough for any of the 3Bs, right?
Oh yeah, I mean my 3Bs are.
I've got a 3B plus, and 2.5 is plenty.
Yeah, I mean it only needs that 2.5 at startup. Most of the time, it seems to be maybe a half an amp or an amp.
Yeah.
But, so that was a little disappointing, a little sad. Now on the positive news front, my version of the donkey car. This is work stuff. I'll get that out of the way. My version of the donkey car actually. I set up a little course in the piano room finally, and I managed to figure out that my SPI interface between the Pi and the Arduino Mega was causing some. Basically, it had a dependency on a Linux library, and when you run the training set on the Windows machine, it runs the full donkey car software, which means it really didn't like that dependency on the Linux library. So after noodling around, yeah, it's the same Python code. You run it in training mode on the on a Windows machine to generate the TensorFlow model, and then you run it in pilot mode on the Arduino to drive it around. So anyhow, I figured out how to put my Git repos in the right state. And wouldn't you know, but I could actually generate this training model. So this is the kind of garbage you see when it goes through. In this case, it converged after 38 cycles. It showed this kind of convergence. I have no idea if this is good or bad, but the loss function, whatever that means, after the 35th epoch or not, it just converged and said, yeah, I'm not getting any better, and it stopped. So, and then I ran out of time. That was the good news. The bad news is I ran out of time, so I haven't had a chance to go put this back in the robot and see if it actually works. But that's next. So next time I fire it up, and this was a half-assed driving set. So now the good news is I think I have the workflow and the interfaces and the APIs all worked out. So now I get to play around with training it and see how it actually drives. So that'll be my target for the next few weeks.
That's good.
Before I get back to my mechanical wheel robot, but in the way of the mechanical wheel robot is refactoring some really ugly code in this donkey car thing I built, this donkey car contraption. So that's what I've been doing, being distracted, not making much progress. Now I have a couple of, say what?
I said that's pretty good progress, though.
I feel good, you know, it's positive steps, even though things broke.
Yeah, the only time a training didn't work was when I trained it on the challenge line following course. And, it was really kind of, you know, I set it down and it moved forward and got slower and slower and came to a stop before it got to the first curve. So it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So it worked on all the other trainings, though. So. But
you followed the standard on your donkey car. You followed the standard open source.
Yeah.
Spit out I squared C to servo signals.
Yep.
Kind of commands, and I'm using my custom bidirectional SPI interface. So
yeah.
With serious, well, not serious hacks, but significant enough hacks to stretch myself into the donkey car code base to make it work. So I have a couple of really thankful shout outs to Mr. Harold here. This is something that Channel Harold invited me to. I don't know, Harold, if you found this one or not, but
they just come across my feed, man. As soon as Hyper.io, I get email all the time from various bits and things, and they just got in my inbox.
It's cool stuff. So
it's like it'd be cheaper than Spot from Boston Dynamics. So.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
It's probably not as capable, but hopefully it's cheaper.
Yeah. I think it's not playing very well on my machine. Maybe if I put my machine in speed up mode here. I'll put the links in Slack.
And by the way, Murray, I've been scaring people.
Yeah.
I've been sending them that link from Singapore where Spot's walking around going, "Stay social distance, stay away from people," and taking people's faces and stuff.
Yeah, they might have been well intentioned in the city council or whatever, but that kind of stuff just scares anybody. It's like the whole idea of that. All you need to do is think there might be a gun on the top of that thing or a spray of some kind of chemical, like a any kind of weapon.
Just bust your bubble, but I don't really want to bust your bubble, but that if you thought it, somebody else has already done it. You just ain't seen pictures of it yet.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, I used to joke about if you could think of something really, I won't even, speaking of things you can't say on the internet, I used to have this thing I would say, I didn't think you could think about this. And then I went and searched on the internet, and there, of course, someone had already done it.
Old news.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, I read about this a little bit, and what's funny is this thing is jumping around and keeping itself well off the ground and doing all those sorts of stuff, and basically it's not really working off pressure sensors and stuff. It's working off of these are the things I need to do to move, and it just happens to stay up and stable and goes. I mean, it doesn't have very many sensors on this thing at all, according to what I read.
Well, there must be an accelerometer, right?
Yeah, no, it doesn't have an IMU, doesn't have any of that stuff in there, apparently.
Wow.
It's just open source position commands, apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No closed loops.
Yeah.
So that was a cool one. And then since we're in the midst of a crisis, still one of many crises,
Yep.
this also came across the feed. Thank you, Harold. But somebody has the coronavirus mask, which is not playing the video right now. Huh.
I got parts to build that just laying around the house. I'll tell you.
You know. Well, that's
Your own Cylon mask.
There you go.
Is that one of those you're closer than 6 foot,
Yeah, it's one of those 8x8 flexible NeoPixel things you can get from Adafruit or AliExpress or anything kind of thing.
Oh my!
Isn't that
They
fun?
should report to the police.
Well, the thing is, I mean, Murray's got one of those Cricket things. You get a Cricket because it has a little bit of a microphone on it. You could do some Blockly's on their thing. Hook it up to the NeoPixels, put it behind that thing, and you've got it.
Yeah.
But I think that's the funniest thing, right? Here's these guys, they're on a Zoom already, and they're still wearing a mask.
That's for the really paranoid.
Yeah, they're being really paranoid.
Oh my God, I'm going to get infected off my screen.
Yeah. So
yeah.
So anyhow, okay, so there's that. So that's my little lighthearted diversion, distraction stuff. And then the only other two things that I have are our Saturday meetings for DPRG. The first one is this coming up Saturday. And for those who weren't here earlier, Ray has volunteered to give a not an extended one, but some kind of useful discussion on LoRa. So he's been doing some experiments and such on LoRa, and we'll do a presentation this coming Saturday. I was going to ask, are there any other folk who have something that they want to present on this coming Saturday, the 13th? Going twice. Okay, so that'll be our session this coming Saturday.
Uh-oh, why was I the only one? Do I not know?
So the question I have asked, because I went Google and looked at makerspace spot, and I know it's on their calendar. Do you reserve a room type thing or what?
For this coming Saturday?
Yes.
Is virtual.
Okay, that's why I'm thinking. You might want to update or send an update to it then, because right now it shows, at least last time I looked, it was showing it that it was actually at the place.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah. No, I haven't sent an update yet at all, but I will.
Okay, I'm talking about the makerspace calendar when I said that. Okay.
I think they had taken appointments off. Are they even still open yet?
Okay, I'll give you a little update of what I know. Okay, based on I talked with Beth, in other words, and I saw Mike, in other words, amongst other people, because Mike was having some leather that he was getting rid of. So in the process, I saw a couple people. And basically what Beth said was they're in the process, maybe soon. But, I know Dallas also had the high number today. So I'm thinking, no, we really don't want to get that social. Okay.
No. Dallas is leading the charge to have a new record high on every successive day.
So that's why I was going to say you might want to update the calendar on their calendar and ours at the same time, but on their calendar you might update and say we're having a virtual and here's the link if they want to type thing.
Thank you. I'll do that.
Okay. And then the next question is the time. Are we going to do it at 12:30, 1:30, 3 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, in regard to some people's time?
Well,
I probably can't make it myself, so don't make it different on my account.
We'll make it early for you this time. Well, then if you can't make it this coming Saturday, Murray, then we'll just do. I was to propose the normal time at noon, Dallas time, which is like 5 Wellington or something, but. Okay, so I'll do it at noon, and I'll get that out in the next day or so. Work is kind of crazy for me right now, but so that's this coming Saturday. We do have something coming up. That's good. And Ray, if you could just give me an abstract, maybe some kind of image that's
Okay.
loosely related, I'll post it out on the meetup, and Doug will follow suit when he gets a chance, if he can.
Yeah. I just thought there seemed to be a lot of interest in LoRa radios, and I was interested in it too. And, just wanted to see what kind of performance I could get out of it, and hopefully I'll be able to do the kind of a around the corner test to see with different antennas if it actually has to be straight line, or can it closer in, can it tolerate some obstruction? So
that'll be good.
Because none of them seem to be able to tolerate obstructions at great distances. So
and FYI, even though I did get the 1.06 version to work, so I can't program it in 2 minutes or less. So I'll Saturday show you hopefully the movement of the thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. We'll have
Is it
some
gonna be
spare time
scratching
for chit chat.
areas or what?
Well, it'll be the rub of the head thing.
Oh, the head.
But
Okay. Yeah.
remember, it can't reach back. It can go only up and front. You
Just
can basically do
adjust the
this movement.
servo arm a little bit. That's all.
Well, there are
Yes,
only
I
so
have,
many pins on that board, so.
Oh, okay.
One more really gracious shout out to Harold. Thank you very much, Harold. But Harold found a lead software development guy at Microsoft who's focused on ROS and Windows in Microsoft's portfolio. And
I'm trying to do this, by the way, is because I met him. I've had some interactions with him at Summit and that kind of stuff. He seems like a real nice guy, and he got me like, hey, that would be Windows on the thing, and let's do it because
so he'll made a really nice introduction, and so we'll do and then I responded to Lou, and Lou said that he's game. So on the 11th of July monthly meeting, hopefully we'll get a cross post with Hackster, but many thanks to Harold for this. But anyhow, so he'll talk about Microsoft Edge Robotics and Windows 10 IoT Enterprise and ROS, and some VS Code ROS extensions. And so compared to what we normally do in DPRG, it's pretty heavyweight stuff, but hopefully it'll be kind of interesting and inspirational.
Yep.
You did tell him it'll be probably about 2 or 3 hour lecture, right? Not too much.
Oh yeah, well, I didn't even ask, but
okay.
I will tell you, Lou's presentation will probably be about 45 minutes.
Oh, you think you can go that fast?
He doesn't go really in depth in all of this, but he is a very in-depth person, so he's going to hit this thing, and I have no idea what his time frame or schedule is, but he's a real nice person. So if you want to ask about, however, if you want to ask questions about any of this or all of this, I will guarantee you he can go as deep as you want to go when it involves this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this will be real nice. That'll be Saturday, 11th of July. And maybe what I'll do is put a placeholder meetup out as tentative so we can get some attention, but we'll confirm this circa the 1st of July.
Cool.
Because of some constraints that he has. So.
Yeah.
Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So the ROS that you're using, Harold, is the old Willow Garage. They kind of went it, I guess, just made it open software, and
it may be. This is completely open, and this is something I don't know the complete history of it, but that might have been what they've taken and now just running the ROS.org and then made the whole big things out of it. I mean, apparently some folks like Amazon and a whole bunch of other industrialized folks are running on this or using it to build their robots going forward.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of curious what happened to that. I thought they just kind of gave up the rights to it, right? The original developers of it, and made it open source, and said, no, you go improve it and use it.
once it goes open source, anything can happen to it, right? And it's been
Yeah.
good and bad with that. But I know for a fact that Microsoft has been dropping in all kinds of resources on both the Windows and the Linux side of this to get their stuff into play and work with other partners, of which I probably can't name them even if I knew them because of NDAs and stuff like that. But I understand they're pretty big name folks. So
Cool stuff.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I think we've gone around the table tonight. Anything else come to mind?
Nope.
People charged up for another week of picking away at something, hopefully.
Hopefully
Harold,
without flames.
Harold, did you say you were going to put the link for that little cheapy thing?
You what now?
You
Oh,
had
the,
that little cheapy thing
quadruped?
for the kids.
I couldn't understand you.
Your pen bot for kids.
Yeah, let me put that up there so you guys can look at. You can go get it. Because I mean, for a couple of dollars, man, this is just great for all kinds of stuff, and kids usually have a pretty good time with it.
So does it like draw spirals or set patterns or what?
There's no set patterns. All it does is it's got a little offset motor at the top here. It's coming in the chat,
And it just vibrates.
3, 2, and there you go. It's in chat now.
Okay.
All it does is just it's a wobble bot basically, and with the pins on top of the paper, depends on how fast you want to spin that thing, or I guess if you made one of those pins a little shorter and one a little taller, you get different designs out of it. And if it spins fast enough, it probably bounces a little bit too, so you get dots and not lines.
Okay, so you're saying it's sort of one of these vibrating things like the little bugs that they have.
Yeah, just like the little bugs they have. And I figured in about 30 minutes, the kids can take all these pieces apart. I got a bunch of paper all over the table, and they can build themselves a little robot and have a good time with it. Hopefully, maybe a lot of them remember me anyway because I'm the blinky light guy, and I'm the guy with the 3D printing parts, right? And so this has happened 2 or 3 years in a row. So people have remembered me. Little kids have remembered me. Well, I figured, okay, I'm making an impression. And last time I sent that blinky LED light home with them, I hope it didn't get them in trouble the rest of the day at school or make their parents mad. But this is even going to make it worse next year. I'll just keep amping it up. Before long, tell
Where
me
are these things coming from? I must find out who.
Yes.
It was Harold.
Can be the fun guy.
Yeah, I at the very least, I think if it can be fun, you can laugh a little bit. Maybe you learn a little bit at the same time, and then like, hey, I can do this. I mean, that's what I'm really going for. I can't do this because I live in a tech desert. These kids over here, they've got squat going on for the most part.
Oh, man.
I don't even know if they got internet at the house. I imagine most of them do, but you're not quite certain, right? And we take a lot of that for it's yeah. And I'm like, I can show them that they can do this. And just because I'm a bald-headed white guy, it doesn't have anything to do with my ability to throw some dots on a paper. Everybody can do this. It doesn't matter, and it doesn't matter whether I'm a female or I've not come from, or maybe I've got some color going on, or I can't maybe speak all that well. Doesn't matter. You can do this. Everybody can do this at some level, and that's kind of what I'm trying to push, right?
That's good. It sounds like a very commendable thing.
It's awesome.
Well, I don't know if it's commendable or not, but it seems like the right thing to do, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I think
It's commendable. It's a great.
I had some friends of mine, these 2 sisters I used to know in California, and one of them was the kind of meeker one, and one was the real lioness, the real tough girl. And they're both short little blonde girls. And one of them married this big tough guy, and the 2 of them moved to one of the worst neighborhoods in San Francisco. And after a few years, she was like the queen of the neighborhood. She knew all the people in the neighborhood of every color. She was the one who, because they have a kid of their own, she was the one who got involved with the local school and managed to get the U.S. Navy to clean up their yard because their kids are getting poisoned. And it doesn't, I think you're right, Harold. It doesn't matter who you are, what color you are. If you come in with the right intention and you're trying to improve your neighborhood or improve your community, people recognize that, and it's a great thing. And she did a lot for her people in that neighborhood, cleaning up the neighborhood literally with litter and stuff, getting involved in the schools, cleaning up the Navy Yard, all sorts of stuff. It was just one person pushed, and everybody got in together and decided to do something. So it's a good effort. I highly applaud anybody who's willing to try that.
So I am being, I am being a little, not deceptive necessarily, but maybe I have an agenda. Like most people that show up for career day, they will bring in their carpet samples, or maybe they'll bring in their cards, or maybe I'm coming in with a load of junk that the kids go, hey, where'd you get that from? Oh, it's that guy's room. Because the kids get to pick which room they go into. And they've got police and firemen and all the other things that some of the military shows up, all the other exciting things. And I'm just trying to figure out a way to stand out. You got firemen and police officers. Well, police officers not the grandest thing at the moment, but they're amazing people, right? They're still amazing people. They're just optics. But you've got the Army, and usually shows up. Army, Navy, Marine. The recruiters show up in their uniforms and all that. I got a blinky light. I want to be able to impress them as well, and hopefully they'll start bringing some other junk to give to the kids, other than here's my card, or whatever that is.
Yeah.
So I have a question on that, Kip. On Thingiverse the other day, I thought I saw a version of that where they had printed out the board. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I haven't seen it, but I was sourcing it out before. Like, I can buy bulk washable pins, bunches of things. I can buy almost bulk those little 1.5 volt, 3 volt motors, and I can certainly get the snaps and the AA battery holder and all that bulk for not a whole bunch of money. But I still can't get that price.
Hey, Harold, what about going to China for a whole bunch of those little rechargeable toothbrushes?
Okay. I never...
Because I was looking around on Doodlebots while you were talking about it, and I found someone who'd taken, because they're just a vibrator. They just have basically a little off-center weight inside of the toothbrush, and they took the toothbrush apart and turned that into a Doodlebot. And if you could get those from China cheap, maybe you could do that.
You could do some stuff like that too. I hadn't thought about that. That could work. Just looking to be, saying that this is just normal looking. The only pushback I have on this is it looks like a kit. It looks like it's supposed to be there, as opposed to if I handed you a solo cups, rubber bands, and some that kind of thing. You did this yourself for sure. You just that's. I'm weighing that a little bit, but I think I'm going forward this thing here because it's just it's all in one package.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And by the way, that quad bot that was running around, it's got some ROS on it. If you look at ROS enabled, it's got some ROS going on doing something or another.
The 4-wheel thing, the 12 servo,
the knockoff Spot.
Yeah.
That's got some ROS on it, some other stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it looks like an interesting project for sure.
Ling Kong Zhang.
Yeah. They got there's a cat named Bruton out there that's got his version of that too, and of course he does a bunch of crazy stuff on YouTube. You know what I'm talking about? Jack Bruton. Here, let me see if I can go real fast.
Yeah. There are so many fun things on YouTube, but no time.
Yeah,
there's a shortage of 500.
Don't need you.
You spend so much time on YouTube.
Yes.
So that link I just posted up there, and you guys can watch it at your leisure. He does a whole bunch of stuff, and balance spots. This is one of the latest issues he's got going on. He's making his own a robot dog on the thing. He does all kinds of things. Like he had this two-wheeled balance bot that had dynamic. It's steered by shifting its weight, so and that kind of thing, right? And showing how he did that, and he's showing a bunch of techniques where you're using lead screws and stepper motors to actually provide the shock absorbing, because it's waiting. It's as you push down on it, it can sense the push and does the lead screw to adjust the leg height and that kind of stuff, to do the shock absorbing on thing on there. Kind of stuff. He does a lot of neat stuff too, stuff well beyond me, and he 3D prints all of it, or for the most of it anyways, that he can. He's got a whole workshop, 3D printing, laser cutters, all the kind of stuff that the Makerspace has, but I don't currently have a laser cutter stuff to do that. But he's a pretty high end fella when it comes to that.
I think I've seen this guy before. I think he did a Star Wars BB-8.
Yeah.
Wow.
He did do one. It's pretty impressive.
But he's got the whole merchandise thing going on. So he's got merchandise related to this orange robot. So it looks like he's one of these YouTubers that can make a career out of it, maybe.
Yeah, he's got a big old Patreon thing. He's not playing around when it comes to that.
Yeah. Now there's a career for us, Harold. I mean, that's the way to go.
Yeah, I've been trying to, if I can ever, I've been trying to just live stream on Twitch as I've been trying to work through the raw stuff, and that's been the most thrilling and compelling watching thing ever. You know, hopefully when I get past this, I want to tend to do more of doing a Twitch live stream and then boiling it down for YouTube on the thing. And not that I'm tired of doing the Twitch live stream already, it just I wasn't making any progress. So why am I twitching when I'm not making any progress, and that kind of thing. So I'm going to hold off for a second because I think things might be working now, but I'm about to try. I'm about to see anyways.
Okay, cool. All right. What do you say, guys? Anything else tonight?
Yeah.
All righty. Well, let's call it a wrap then. I will send out updates for the next few Tuesday night meetings, and